So let's be honest, going to the movies used to be a simple $10 night out and everything, but now it's turned to a $60 luxury. And as much as I love going to the movies, you have the big screen, the better sounds, audience reaction. We need to look at it a little more carefully of is this worth the expenditure into splurge, or is maybe setting up like a home theater system better for what we should do and a better way of figuring out how to treat yourself?
Right, and tickets are skyrocketing like crazy. You check and it's like $15 just for the ticket, not alone, like you said, popcorn, drinks, snacks, whatever you're getting as well. And it's not about necessarily feeling guilty about spending all of that and going out if you enjoy that experience. It's about finding the intention in your budget to make that happen.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive on in.
All right.
Hey, welcome back to the Buy Your Kids a House podcast series. Again, I'm Matt. This is Andrew. And in this segment, we are talking about the Treat Yourself segment. That's the area we kind of look into how we can enjoy life, our splurges, our little luxuries in life without blowing the budget. And for that kind of falls under the 30 category. And for those who have been following, we follow the 50, 30, 20 budget series. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the previous episodes and you'll find out exactly where that falls in. And with that, we're looking today of, going to the movies or watching movies and those different experiences and where that falls into your budget and, how is it worth that splurge? Now, I'll fully admit, I was definitely a big movie buff growing up. I loved going weekly, seeing all the movies, all the big, blockbusters, even down to the simple little horror films and everything. And I even had, for those who have been around for a bit, the old Movie Pass back in the day before that collapsed. And then that turned into the Regal Pass, which is still going, but I was using that for a while before COVID. And I used to go all the time to see whatever releases could come out. But now I'm finding myself just kind of, waiting for those big releases, your Marvel, your Star Wars, your horror films that maybe have the big audience reaction just so that I can be part of that collective moment. But other than that, I'm starting to weigh myself of looking at is it worth going for, these second tier or lower tier movies because it's getting really out of hand expensive wise.
Well, right. And that's why I started just building my own home theater, is because the prices out there are getting so crazy and everything is starting to stream now. Even some theatrical releases are coming out right away to stream. So for me, it's really important to have a good setup. That's my splurge moment. Instead of going out every week to the movies, investing in the nicer TV, the sound bar with surround system, blackout curtains to really get that experience, but at home. And it's starting to save a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, so let's just go and look at all these options and weigh them out and see which one works for us and which one maybe works for you at home and everything and your family needs. So let's go ahead.
All right, let's look at
check that out. Okay. So now first we're going to look at a little bit of the changing the costs of going to a movie theater and the ticket price of that. And back in 2010, it was roughly about $8 a ticket. Now we're looking at about $14 to $16 a ticket, and that's not even including if you get the higher experiences like the IMAX experience, the 3D experience, those things that could add on more and higher prices on that. And that doesn't even, so already right there, if you're a couple going out for this, $15 a ticket, that's $30 right there. You get drinks and a popcorn, that's another $30. And we haven't even gotten into if it's just a couple going out, maybe you're also having to pay for, babysitter for the night out if you're, leaving the kids at home. You're paying obviously for gas. And in some places you're even paying for parking at these different experiences go to.
Right. So if you either way, a family of four is going to cost you $100, if not more, because if you're, like you said, paying for the babysitter, or if you're just trying to do a date night or something like that, you have to take that cost into consideration. Or if you brought them with you, that's that much more. And anymore, the price is different between adults and child. It's not that big anymore.
No, it used to be a much drastic difference. Now, I know some do, the summer sessions, they'll do daytime, previous airings, or they'll do the Tuesday cheaper to $7. And those are great things to take advantage of. But that's also if and when they offer it, what movies they offer for it. But if you're going for the new releases and everything, a child's price is usually only $1 or $2 cheaper than an adult price. And if you're going 3D or IMAX, they really don't even offer much of a difference.
Right, no, exactly. And I know here in Orlando, we also have a 4DX experience as well, that those tickets, I went one time and I think I spent $30 on just one ticket for a 2-hour experience.
For a little rumble seat and everything.
Yeah, no, exactly. So if I'm paying $15, $16, $17 an hour just to see a movie.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, and again, you just mentioned $30 for a ticket. I mean, the ticket alone, you'd be at $120 if you're a family of four going out. And that's not including any other drinks or anything. And yeah, a lot of these series, as you just mentioned, the 4D experience, a lot of these are offering even other features AMC here offers dining-in options and everything. So, yes, you try to maybe have your dinner while you're there and everything. but that's at an elevated cost and everything. So,
Yeah.
like I know you used to do is the old date night, dinner, then a movie and everything. They're trying to combine that together, but you're paying a lot more, and I don't know, the food quality is even quite there yet. Like you're getting mozzarella sticks and a burger and everything, like wherever their flash fryer and everything going, but
Right.
but they're trying to increase that price even more for going to go see a movie. And some of these also now they have renovated where they have the nicer seats and lay back, but you're paying then a little bit more for the ticket for that and everything. But it's like,
Exactly.
okay, well, my seat reclines, but so does my couch and chair and everything. So,
At home, yeah.
So is that worth going that prospect of that and everything? And then if I bring my kids, my kids, especially my son, is not the best at sitting in a seat yet. He's want to crawl around,
wiggle around,
and then usually either me or my wife, like he ends up most of the time in our lap, sitting on us and everything. And that's not exactly
so you're not even paying for the seat.
No, yeah, it's physically there. Yeah. And then that's the other aspect of it too. Of like, don't get me wrong, I like going for the audience reaction, but it doesn't mean I necessarily want to sit next to the audience. So when you're looking at trying to pick your seats on there, because nowadays you have to reserve the specific seat usually, you're trying to find that magical spot of like maybe a good view, but away from some of the people. Like,
right.
I like the little courtesy seat, like where there's something in between me and the party next to me.
Yeah.
And, and again, if it's a packed movie, that might not be able to do that. And then you're fighting with your neighbor for the armrest and everything. But, I try to find that magical spot and everything in there. But, from that also, we haven't even gotten into the newer age topic, which has really blown up the last couple of years, is the growth of these limited edition collector popcorn buckets.
It's crazy to me.
Like, don't get me wrong. For us, we live in Orlando. It started probably more so the theme parks before it crept over to the movie theater world, to the extent that it had. They've generally had, a little themed popcorn bucket and everything, but really since like the last Deadpool and what was the first movie, I think that I forget the one that cracked the popcorn bucket was like a little bit R-rated, if you will, and everything.
I think it was Deadpool and Wolverine when they came out with
there was one before that and everything, and that's gonna but it amazed me that after that they start trying to outdo each other for the wackier, crazier popcorn bucket. And in the theme parks they've had similar things like that of the popcorn bucket for a while. This become like Star Wars themed, the Millennium Falcon, and the different stormtrooper helmets and everything. But then after you get them, they look amazing initially. They're and obviously the kids, their eyes light up.
Wow.
And like I got to get that impulse item thing. What do you do with it afterwards?
Right.
Like put it on a shelf. Like at least the theme park ones you can generally bring back and get cheaper refills of popcorn, but you don't get that at the movie theater. Once you leave the movie theater, like that's the end of it. Like so. Do you put it on your shelf to collect at home? Like, is there a way to display these? Like, how much do you keep getting? And again, these things are not cheap and everything. They're usually, $20, $30, even $40 for the popcorn bucket. And also at the end of the day, they're terrible at holding popcorn.
I was about to say the exact same thing. The functionality of it is terrible. Yeah. Like most of them have like crevices that everything gets stuck in. You can't keep it clean. Once that popcorn is in there, you're going to be finding kernels for the next decade.
And I mean, my hands are not the biggest, but they're not tiny. And like trying to get my hand in there and everything.
Like get little chopsticks at that point, like tweezer in.
Get in there and everything. Like, and I know that's part of the gimmick of some of these things, especially the Deadpool one was, trying to be a little bit more R-rated, impromptu and everything.
Right.
But yeah, you can't even get in there to get the dang popcorn out and everything. So, and then once you have it,
again, like what do you do?
We were talking earlier before we started taping here. Like I was a sucker. I got the Ghostbuster trap one from the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire a couple years ago, and it's literally just been on my shelf ever since until my daughter just played a tournament in softball where they were then the Ghostbuster team, and we brought the popcorn bucket back with us. This is a fun little gimmick that we were there rooting for them. But other than that, it's literally sat on the shelf collecting dust.
Yeah.
For 5 years now, since that movie came out. Like
right, just not. I mean, some of them are really elaborate and really cool to look at, but like they're not well made typically. It's cheaper materials. For me, I don't understand it. I don't understand the popcorn bucket craze. But there are a lot of people out there that love to display them. I know several people that is what they get them for. They get them to collect them and to display them. Yeah. And then you also have the other side of people that buy them because they're a limited edition and then try to resell them. Like I know theme park specifically is huge on that. People will wait 3-4 hours in a line for a cart that has that popcorn bucket and then just resell it. And some of them, I will say, go for crazy amounts.
Yeah, you'll see them leave with a big clear plastic trash bag just full of those popcorn buckets still in the bag, not even open and everything. because they're going straight to eBay and everything.
Yep.
They resell them, and yeah, there is that initial pop usually that they can make more money and everything, but. Yeah, that whole resale market blows my mind and everything. We probably had to do another episode of deep dive into that because like especially being in the theme park area, we see that a lot, and it really blows my mind with the idea of you attach anything limited edition or hard to get. People unfortunately look at it as a way to make more money or make a quick buck, and it's a lot of times at the expense of people that just generally want it for themselves.
Right,
and that's unfortunate because family maybe doesn't go for that opening night, and they go the next day and they want the item, but that item's now sold out because someone went and bought 20 of them the night before and they go sell on eBay. So that's unfortunate and everything when it comes to that. But again, as I fully admitted that I made a mistake of getting, I wouldn't say mistake, but like I got the Ghostbuster Trap one. I do enjoy it. But after that, like I've definitely made a hard pass of anyone since then. Because again, what do we do with them and everything? They literally sit around collecting dust, doing nothing. And I've been guilty more of the theme park ones, but at least those I can bring back and get
cheaper
refill. But even there, I'm having to make a hard line of okay, we got this. What's going on? What's available? It was useful because I know sometimes the theme park ones, after a while, they'll stop letting you bring that one back in for refills. But the movie ones, once you're done, that really is it.
It's done, and there you go. Like you said, some of them are like $20-$30. Then there's a whole nother ticket, right there in itself. And then concessions aren't cheap. I mean, like $5-$6 for a Coke. Yeah. It's skyrocketing like crazy.
You just showed yourself that you haven't been to the movies in a little bit and everything. $6 you're looking at more like $9.75 for a large Coke there, sir.
Full transparency, I never get soda when I go to a movie. I will sometimes get nachos, but I'll usually bring in a bottle of water or something from outside instead, personally.
I will say soda is definitely one of my guilty pleasures. So unfortunately I am well aware, and they always get you because the larger one is a better value because you get the refills, and especially if we go with our family or something like that, we'll get a Sprite that we can all share, and if we need to, we get a refill of it and everything. But even that is still $8-9 and everything for that, and that it adds up real fast. And that's not even a collector item; it's just the regular old paper cup.
And well, I mean that is also though a good way is just getting the one and having everyone share it to save a little bit of money. But again, you're spending the $8-9 for sugar water. Sugar water.
Something that again probably costs them, as you mentioned earlier, 5 or 10 cents for the the water, the compressed gas, and a little bit of syrup from Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whoever is distributing for it. But it adds up fast.
It does.
So again, that kind of comes down to, and as I'm saying this more, I'm talking myself out of it.
that home theater system's looking a lot better, more and more
and everything. It's it's a little more up front, but man, does it pay itself off real fast.
It can, even in a year's worth of going to movies, you paid for probably half of your system. Over time, it's just going to keep paying for itself versus the theater going every day, or not every day, but at least every week,
Yeah, so I think now is I think we'll go and start diving into that idea of the home theater system. So that'll be up in the next section. So,
all right. All right, so let's now talk about streaming versus theatrical releases. And anymore, there's not a big gap. Before, a movie would hit the theaters, everyone would rush to see it because you knew you wouldn't be able to see it again for another 6 months, before it hit streaming or DVD releases, dating us. Or if you want to go even further back, VHS. And it going to the home videos, it took so long that's when you had everyone going to the movies all the time, every week and seeing the same movie multiple times throughout the course of its run in the theater. But anymore, it's maybe a month, maybe a little over a month. If it's a big release, it won't go to streaming until 2 months after, but that's not near as much. You don't get that FOMO as you normally would. All your friends be like, "Oh, did you go see this movie yet? It's so good. You have to see this movie." And you're like, no spoilers. Shut up. I don't want to talk about it. But now that's not much of a thing anymore. It's, you wait just a little bit. And a lot of them now are starting, I know Disney Plus is almost doing same release. Bigger blockbusters, not as much, but something will hit the theaters a week later, it's on Disney Plus. So it really, in my opinion, gets rid of that need to just get into the theater.
Yeah, I fully admit I was definitely guilty of the FOMO and everything because, again, when you had to wait 6+ months for a major release to hit back on whether it was DVD, VHS, or even just putting on network broadcast and everything, and hopefully recording it on your own home, hitting with the VCR and hitting the button, record and everything. But that used to be the way of having to wait. You didn't want to wait that long, and especially talking about with your friends and everything, and school or at work or wherever, like you don't want to be that one person that missed out on it. And I know we've gotten pretty good about keeping spoilers off the internet for at least a day or so. Like we try to give everyone a chance to to go see it. And we were just talking about some TV shows and everything. Yeah. We trying to be spoiler free of it because you haven't seen it yet, and so we were trying to go into that without breaking that the thought of it and everything without haven't seen it. But now that gap has shrunk so much, and as you mentioned, some of them simulcast launch it, or maybe they charge a small fee. But I say small fee, I know some do $40, $50, $60. But again, if you want to have that same theatrical launch, you could have a whole bunch of friends come over, and then pay that $60. And what used to be maybe maybe for my family of 4, $60 versus $100 isn't that big of a difference. But if you have 10, 15, 20 people at your house for a big movie launch, $60 now turns into $6 or less a person. And everything. Exactly. So now we're back to being possibly affordable in that simul launch, so you're not missing out on that. So again, having that ability to not have too much of a time gap between the two is massive. Plus nowadays you almost need to have a home theater system anyway, because we're talking about major theatrical releases. A lot of these, Disney Plus, Netflix, HBO are making their own original content that is movie level caliber that is only for their streaming services.
Right, just going straight on.
Yeah, so, again, we're not even talking about missing out. The show we were talking about was even a show that is just strictly on Netflix and everything with that. Yeah. So, again, that's something else. So you'd have the same FOMO. So you need to have these streaming platforms. Now, again, going back in that 30 of your budget, you have your Disney Plus, your Netflix, your HBO, those do cut into that. But you almost need to have those so you don't miss out on those. And with that, then you're going to want to have a decent enough home theater system anyway, so you can enjoy those. Now you're looking at, okay, well, now I have to do this and that. Like, okay, now you're cutting even more of that budget. So, again, like now we're having less of an argument of going to the theater versus just using streaming services and maybe waiting a month and a half, or so for it to hit that platform. Right. And especially now that the costs of building a home theater system used to be ginormous, but now that's shrunk down a lot. Like I know your system, pennies on dollar from what it used to be.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like the cost of TVs for one have dropped like crazy, especially if you get it on like a major selling day. Like Black Friday, Super Bowl right before Super Bowl Sunday, Memorial Day. All of those like locations will give such huge discounts. I know this past Black Friday that we just had, like you were saying, $200, $300 for these 65-inch TVs. Yeah. And, all the way up to like you can get a 100-inch TV for like $1,500 now. So that's a theater screen to me, that's, you go that big, it's pretty much the exact same thing if you have this right sound system. Now, where the money comes in more, and it has dropped some, but it's the sound systems that do still cost an okay amount if you want to get like a decent one. If you go brand name like with Bose, it's going to, cost you probably $1,500, $2,000. But once you have it, it's good. It's never going to be worse. And all of them now have such good audio quality built into it, like Dolby Atmos. I can't talk. But the Dolby Atmos is on there too, like just built into everything. And a lot of these, you don't have to have your 7-point speaker anymore because the sound bars throw the sound so well in their space that you feel like you're completely surrounded with 3 speakers. Yeah. Like not too much at all.
No, it's been like I remember growing up, the initial barrier was the TV and everything. That was like the hard thing to purchase, especially when big screen TVs became a thing, because that was new cutting edge technology. Yep. But now it's become, very affordable in comparison. Like the price of TVs has dropped so much compared to a lot of other things with costs going up. Again, TVs used to be $10,000 for a big screen television, and they were also the huge box, not even the flat screens. Then you had flat screens come out, and that was then a $10,000 TV. And then you start having, how large did the flat screen get? And again, we were talking about Black Friday deals. There were 65-inch televisions going for $300 or less. That pretty much, is good enough for most of your needs. And again, 98-inch television, $1,500 and everything. Like my first flat screen television, back in 2005, 8-ish or so, was $2,000 for a 50-inch television. Yeah. So we're talking now double the size pretty much for the same price, or actually less than the same, because I paid $2,000 and now it's $1,500. And like I said, maybe you spend a little bit more on the surround sound system to go along with it, but like, let's call it 1,500 and everything. So if
Yeah.
you're 1,500 for the top of the line current television, 1,500 for surround sound, you're at $3,000. Maybe you have a dedicated room, so maybe you have to buy some, couch or chairs or things along those lines.
Right.
That can maybe increase the cost. But if you're just doing this in your normal living room, that you have your couch in there anyway.
Yeah.
Like as you mentioned before, maybe some blackout curtains, something along those lines. But that's even really an added splurge and everything with it.
Right.
But if you're really just looking at the TV and the surround sound system, you're at $3,000. We were talking about $100 to go out for a family of four.
Yeah.
Well, now once you've seen 30 movies on there, like you've broken even, and that can happen in a very short amount of time. And
absolutely,
these TVs are relatively durable. Like I still have that first flat screen TV. I still have now. Granted, I've upgraded my living room TV, but it's become now my bedroom television. So it still works fine, and that's 15 years later and everything. So again, these things are built to last better. And they hang just as well for technology wise and everything. So again, that $3,000 investment, hangs around for 15 years. That's not too bad of a deal with that.
Right. And like if you're saving, like we were talking about, and saving up that to buy at the cheaper times, so much cheaper than even the 30 movies. Like it could be the equivalent of 20-25 movies. And that is a pretty big gap if you look at it from the finance perspective.
Yeah.
And being able to enjoy things. Now, do you still want to go out and see movies? Probably. Like there is something about, like you were talking about, big blockbusters, being a part of that community where, Marvel character comes out that everyone's super excited to re-see.
When Captain America got Thor's hammer in Endgame, that whole audience just freaked out on that and everything.
Yeah.
Like that's a memory that you can't duplicate. Like unfortunately, my kids weren't old enough that they to see that movie when it came out in theaters, and we watch it now and like they enjoy the movie, but like you guys just don't know. You weren't there. You weren't there the first time you saw that hammer come across. You're like, boom, there's Cap.
Who caught it?
As I'm wearing the old Cap.
I was gonna say, as you're wearing the Cap shirt,
and you have those major audience reactions, or even. The latest Spider-Man movie that came out when you had the older Spider-Man jump into it and everything. Again, that audience reaction freaked out. But even now, like I watch other Marvel movies that maybe I already know aren't going to have that big of a thing in the movie. Like I saw the Marvels in theaters and everything. Like nothing against that movie, but like I knew going in that it didn't have that level of nostalgia impact that was going to happen in those movies, and it was fine on big screen. But maybe something like that, I wait till it comes on streaming.
No, exactly,
and just wait for now it's going to be Doomsday and Secret Wars and everything. Like those two definitely be in theaters.
I was going to say the larger ones, like the bigger ones that they've been building up for years and years and years. Because like by the time we hit Endgame, we are 25 years in. Or no, more like 15 20 years.
Yeah, I think about 15 years and everything with that. But still, I mean, that's a long
time to build up to those moments that had such a bigger impact in the theaters.
Yeah.
Not saying you can't get that in your home theater, but it's going to be, in my opinion, worth it to save that money to be able to put into it and just experience a great experience at home and be able to save so much money in the long run.
Yeah, and again, fitting into that budget that we always keep coming back to, that 30% budget. Yes, you have the little more investment up front, but you're probably going to do that anyways because you're stuck with having to do it for the streaming services anyway.
Yep.
So if you've already done it, maybe spend a touch more there to really fine tune and really hone it in. And popcorn's a lot cheaper from the store than it is.
I was going to say,
you can have your own soda and everything, and the candy is way cheaper.
Way cheaper.
So those other expenses, pennies on a dollar in comparison and everything.
Yeah.
And like you're going to do it anyways because, whether, the streaming services or even for myself, live sports, I got to have, big football in there too.
Yep.
So I'm going to have that anyway. So if I'm going to have it, might as well just dedicate more to that system setup than going out constantly for movies. So.
Yeah, no. And I know something else to help cut the cost of your home theater as well. I know specific brands are better at this than others, and some people are like, stay away from this, but refurbished ones, maybe they're slightly used and they just had like some wire that was loose. So they sent it in and then they're reselling the refurbished. Yeah. And a lot of times if it's a reputable company, those are going to be good quality and they still have a limited warranty to them.
Yeah. A lot of times, I do that sometimes with Best Buy, and everything. Like they'll go through the Geek Squad and get back out that way. And again, obviously, coming at Best Buy will at least give you some sort of warranty to back up the work because they're trying to entice you to buy that television because they don't want to just keep it on their books. They want to have it still be sold for at least some sort of a profit off of there. So, they'll usually still, at least honor the initial warranty or back it up or even, extend it a little longer, to help make sure that at least isn't, you're just not buying something that doesn't work. But yeah, that definitely is another option to look at for cutting costs.
Yeah.
I still really like your idea though of setting your calendar for those big sale days.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Super Bowl time, Memorial Day, Labor Day, Black Friday. I think if you plan well enough ahead for those major holidays of when electronics are going to really drop in price, take advantage of those. Because again, the savings of those can be tremendous, and then from that, then you can indulge and get a better item that will last you a lot longer and be better, like in a bigger television than what you could afford normally and everything that will last longer. So I think for me that would be the direction I would go is marking those major holidays and track and see where that would come in of where would benefit you the most and everything.
No, I completely agree, because then also you're getting that brand new product almost, and maybe it is 1 year behind, but let's face it, the difference between yearly anymore, it's not big enough.
No,
it's not big enough to need the 2026 TV versus the 2025 or 2024.
Well, we even got into the idea of 1080p, 4K, 8K, and all that. Like granted, I'm a little older. My vision isn't quite what it used to be. I don't necessarily need glasses, but I'm probably around that verge there. Like 8K, is lost on me in that aspect because I don't believe that my eyes can tell the difference between 4K and 8K. So again, like do I need to get an 8K television? I think I'm good with 4K, like especially for a larger TV. And even that, I'm probably over because I think I was reading a statistic a couple years back. But I think underneath 42 inches of a size of a television, your eye can't even tell the difference between 720 and 1080.
Correct.
And then, if you go above that, then maybe start seeing the difference and everything. And yeah, we are talking about 65, 75, 100-inch televisions. So I can convince myself into 4K. I can't convince myself into 8K.
Well, no, I mean, 8K on a home TV, in my opinion, is completely pointless right now because, like you said, your eye can't tell the difference on that size of screen. Where you're going to need the higher than 4K is if you're blowing it up on an IMAX, just this massive screen. Otherwise, like my dad always said, I don't even have high def eyes. Why would I need the higher def TV?
Yeah. And then also the media that's being sent to us, very little of it's in 8K anyway. So again, like why would I splurge for an 8K television if I'm not, the data that I'm getting in, whether it's streaming, DVDs or whatever else I'm using, is at best 4K. So even if I have an 8K television, it's still just going to show 4K because that's the media that I'm getting in. And yeah, there are some things out there now that are sprinkling with 8K, and I've seen some of it. I still can't tell.
I mean, it's very minor things too, So like not having to have that 8K and do just the 4K, it's more important to get the higher refresh rate. So if you're going to splurge in a TV that you need something a little bit faster, look at the refresh rates, don't look at the case.
Yeah.
Like 4K is more than enough for even up to a 200-inch TV.
Yeah.
You'll not be able to tell the difference.
Which is 200 inches is larger than most people's walls put them on.
Exactly.
So, as you said, it's your own version of a home theater for real because if you have a 200-inch television, unless you have a cathedral of a room that you're putting in or something like that, that's pretty much going to take up that whole space.
Oh, it's the whole wall,
Yeah, so... Like again, I would stick with 4K, and I know that they want to push you to higher technology and everything. But like you said, the refresh rate is important on that. But 4K is definitely the top on that, and that's even me. I'm convincing myself that even 4K is. So, but I think next we'll go and dive into a little bit of how this fits into that 30 budget a little bit more and cover in that area. So I think that for most covers the streaming home theater system versus going to the movie theater.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the next part.
Yeah. Okay, so as we mentioned a little bit ago, that now we're going to dive into the actual finances of how this works. And as we said many times throughout, and probably you're sick and tired of me saying this, is this falls into the 30 category.
Yep.
And we're going to kind of use the example of if you're taking home about $5,000 a month, that's about $1,500 you have in total for that 30 category.
Right.
Now we're not saying that $1,500 is for just movies.
Right.
We're saying that's your whole fun category of what you're doing, whether it's eating out, also your streaming services and everything fall into that category because again, they're wants, not needs.
Correct.
So the whole point of the 30 is it's the wants category. So we had to take into account the $15 each for each of these Netflix and HBO Max and Disney Plus and everything, depending on how many of them you have. And if you're paying for higher, like your Spotify and all those type of things, so all those eat away a little bit of that $1,500 towards that, or whatever it is your budget is. But I'm just using this as a rough example with that. But with that, you can then look at planning ahead. How much of that maybe I want to set aside for using towards saving for that bigger television. So let's go back to the example of a, let's call it $1,500 television.
Yeah.
If I have $1,500 a month, maybe I stash $100 of that $1,500 away, and then in 15 months, I now have enough to buy a bigger television. And maybe then the following year, I can buy the better surround sound system. And you keep chipping away from that budget towards the goal of building this. Because we said before about building the home theater system, we didn't say it had to be done at once.
Right.
You know, so again, you can keep upgrading and you know, make fine tuning, making it a little bit better, those things, but keep it within this budget. From that, also the aspect of still going to the theater movies and everything.
So, right. And if you're pulling from that $1,500 budget that you have from your 30%, it's going to be looking at how often can I go? You know, like in mind of if you're still trying to save for that bigger TV or the better surround sound system and start building your own home theater, looking at what fits into that budget. Maybe it'll only be once a month or every other month that you could go and experience that. And I mean, a lot of us want that experience too. We want that IMAX or big screen or that like immersive surround and that experience with the people and things like that you don't want necessarily, if it brings you joy, take it completely away.
Yeah.
It's just if this is your goal getting to something, like you were saying, out of that 1,500, just budget it differently, you know, and look at it, okay, I'm not going to go as often and I'm only going to save for those big blockbuster movies.
Yeah. But again, like just because you have that $1,500 each month doesn't mean you also have to use it that month. You can roll it over, just like we were talking about building your surround sound system, your TV. So for me, like one of my main things is I'm going to look at what is usually what the summer blockbuster series,
right?
And there might be more movies in those 3 or 4 months time frame, but then maybe I don't go as much in the winter time and things. Right. So that money that I can do, I can allocate and spread across.
Exactly.
So if I'm splurging on those 5 or 6 big summer releases. Next year, probably I definitely want to go see Doomsday and whatever, you know, the following year for Secret Wars, things along those lines. I can plan ahead for those because you know when they're going to come out, you have the release date. So you can plan ahead for that, knowing what it's going to cost, and then spread that cost throughout all your months for the year, not just look at it like, well, this month I went to 5 movies, therefore I'm out $500 or whatever. Like, no, like if you plan for the whole year, that's $500 over the course of the whole year. That's now your $50 a month and everything. So you can make it much less impactful over the course of your whole year if you plan ahead, because I definitely think that what we discover from this is going to be that combo approach. I think building that home theater system with limiting going to the movies only for those big wow factor moments. Now, you know, again, if you really enjoy that date night with your significant other, sure thing that you want to have that. I'm not saying have that cut out, but for me, I think the main balance now is I only save going to the theaters for those big audience reaction theater moments, and then now having the better surround system at home because, as we've covered before, I'm a sucker for sports. Obviously, now the streaming services have their shows, so having that better surround sound system and TV at home, I'm going to have that anyway. Right. So with that, like saving the money towards that and increasing that while still sprinkling in the going to the movie theaters, I think is a route to go to still fit into the budget. And then again, when you're looking at that $1,500, if you have roughly 10-15% of that allocated towards this element of fun to treat yourself in that area, you're not going to blow that budget entirely.
Right. And another question that a lot of people are probably asking themselves is like, okay, like I'm budgeting all of this and maybe you forgot to save or something like that. It's like, oh, okay, I'll just put this on a credit card. Should you do that if you didn't already have it? Probably not. Yeah. I mean, you should probably stay close to, like your budget and everything like that and not overexert yourself, because once that interest starts hitting, it's your $100 movie night just turned into a $120 movie night just because you use the credit card. Now, if you have the money already and like you've been paying off your credit card every month or paying it completely down every month, things like that, then yeah, that's probably a good way to also, like we'll dive into another time, get those points, like look at that and to getting more money out of it than just losing more money. So I think that's a big thing too, because I know I've been guilty of it. Be like, oh, I forgot to do that. Okay, instead of just convincing myself, hey, I should wait. This is the smart decision. Yeah. Be like, I have a credit card.
The swipe power gets you. And again, I think you tease it great because coming up very soon, stay tuned, is we're going to cover into credit cards and points. Now, again, I differ a little bit with Dave Ramsey, but I understand where he comes from of not wanting credit cards at all because it is such a slippery slope. But I love getting the points if able to, but you definitely only do it when you have the money ready to pay it off.
Yes.
And not when you don't have the money again, you got to have that discipline then at that point in time. Like, hey, if I'm putting on a credit card because I don't have the money, then you need to not put it on the credit card.
And then, yeah.
And because again, as you said, putting it on when you not have it and this thinking that somehow magically next month I'm going to be able to pay it off, it becomes such a slippery slope that's where the interest comes in. The interest really works against you in that. And again, we're talking that $100 for the movie, as you said, becomes $120, and $20 might not seem like a lot and everything, but again, that snowballs and compounds and adds up, and that turns into a much bigger chunk of that $1,500 than what you're planning on. So yes, I'm a proponent, unlike Dave Ramsey, for using the points.
Yeah.
But only do it when you have the money ready to go. And we're going to dive into that in a episode or so, a week or so from now and everything. But something to definitely look forward to with that. But don't do it if you don't have it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because, I mean, credit card interest rates are so much more than they used to be. Before, you could get a credit card for, anywhere from 7 to 15%. Now it's 18 to 28% interest. And if you have that higher interest, like I was saying, and you were just saying, it's going to snowball.
Yeah.
And you're just going to feel that stress. So eliminating the stress out of the fun things we want to do in our budget is important, I feel.
And again, the snowball effect isn't even just from the interest. It's from the ease of like, well, I swiped this one time for the movie, thinking next month I'll be able to catch up on it. And next month all of a sudden, like, oh, well, I was still short on this, so I'll let that one go behind. I'll pay the minimum payment on that. But also now, like, oh, but now I want to get my haircut and everything, but I didn't have the money from that. Now I swipe again. I swipe again. And then next thing you know, that $100 movie night, now you've got $1,000 on there, and now you're at 20% interest and everything on that. You're losing $200 a year. So again, that's where it snowballs on you. Again, I'm a proponent of using a credit card, but smartly for points and paying that off. And that's where it is very tough to have the mental discipline. And I understand that. And that's also what the credit card company does.
Yeah, I know. That's what they're hoping.
That's what they're hoping. And that's why Dave Ramsey and other financial experts swear off credit cards, because they understand if you're coming for financial help, it's because you lack the financial discipline currently. And it's just easier to just cut you off entirely from it than to try to trickle it in there and everything.
Right.
But we're looking at trying to maximize all elements, and you can maximize points without going too crazy in that. But again, we're going to cover that in a week or so and everything. But again, I think that for the most part, that kind of covers the idea of where this fits into your budget and how to plan ahead for using that $1,500 a month, and what little chunk of that, like $100, $150 a month, towards the overall goal of fine-tuning the home theater system so you can maximize all your streaming efforts and then still having those few major highlight movies throughout the year.
No, exactly. And then that way, best of both worlds, essentially.
Yeah, so I think that kind of covers that area. And then,
all right.
Yeah, so whether it's that big Marvel movie premiere or maybe a Friday night Netflix binge, this isn't about breaking it bank. It's about spending intentionally and smartly.
Exactly. It's not about cutting the joy out. It's about refinding the purpose in it.
Yeah. So go see that movie. Enjoy the big screen events. Not worry about the overall blowing the budget, because you've already made the plan. You're going to execute the plan, and this is about treating yourself but spending smartly and intentionally.
Right. And the budget's not there to hold us back. It's there to create freedom so that we can enjoy the things we love guilt-free. And I feel like it's important, because I feel guilty sometimes too when I splurge too much or splurge on something I didn't think I needed to.
Yeah. So again, if you learned something from this, please like, share, subscribe, help us out. We're a growing channel. Watch previous episodes if there's areas that you feel like you didn't learn about, like the 50, 30, 20 budget. And we tease a little bit coming soon. We'll be about talking about credit cards and points and everything there. So there's definitely lots of great content coming along. So please join us along for the ride and help us out. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Next time.